The Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan nearly a year ago has reshaped society, most of all for women. New laws restrict their movements, education, and dictate what they can wear. Many women protested against them early on, but a harsh crackdown has driven local organizers underground. Our next report looks at the price paid by women who dared to demonstrate in public.
A dangerous display of solidarity. Katul Fahoud leads a march, calling for freedom, for justice, for women to be able to work. That was before. Now Katul must work behind closed doors. Here she's covertly organizing a protest action to mark the anniversary of the Taliban takeover. She says this is the only way to get anything done.
After our faces were recognized, they now know us. Our photos were released and we gave interviews to the TV channels. The TV channels aired our interviews and programs. And now we are being chased. And this is a serious problem.
She's paid a physical price for her activism. Here she displays bruises and cuts from scuffles at protests. One time, she says, she fled her own home when the Taliban were about to arrest her and broke her leg jumping over the wall to escape. She also says she suffered a miscarriage during a demonstration. Many who showed their faces at protests last year were later detained. Some are suspected to still be in prison. Others who were released fled to neighboring Pakistan. The next woman requested not to have her name mentioned.
They treated us very badly. They insulted us and told us to give away our organization. And they asked us which party we worked for and accused us of working for the resistance front. And they took away our phones.
For those who stayed behind, Afghanistan has become an increasingly dangerous place, and that has taken its toll.
We have spent a very difficult and painful time. We have suffered more pain, psychologically and physically. I'm currently not doing well mentally, and my family members are also not doing well mentally.
Meanwhile, the protests continue, just not outdoors. These women have gathered to send a message to the world, calling for education, freedom, and access to work. The only safe place to do it is behind these walls.
And joining me now for more from Colombo is Samira Hamidi, Amnesty International's South Asia campaigner. Samira, you're regularly in touch with women in Afghanistan who have been forced to sit at home because of Taliban diktats. Do they feel it's safe to go out and protest for their rights?
Thank you for having me. Yes, based on the discussions and calls that I regularly make to women and girls in Afghanistan, not only the general ones because of my work, but also the female family members, the relatives that I have. It is quite a difficult situation right now for women and girls in Afghanistan, especially if women would like to mobilize and they would like to go out on the streets to, for example, protest. In one hand, the Taliban have banned protests earlier, a couple of months ago. In other hands, the Taliban, of course, used violence and where they did not allow the women protesters to continue protests. And also what we have seen, the pattern, and also what we have documented in our recent report is that majority of women protesters were identified, disappeared, they were arrested, tortured, and even they were threatened to death if they continue. So this is it's quite a dangerous environment right now where women are working. However, they have not given up. What I am hearing, especially from the women who are mobilizing and who are part of the protests from the past.
Right, and that's what we see in the report that we play just before the conversation with you. But it's also pretty clear that the Taliban have broken their promises on women's rights, the promises that they were making during the Doha round of talks, for instance. Do you see a situation where the Taliban will restore women's rights?
I don't think so. I would like to say that when the Taliban took over in August last year, some of the fancy promises that they made, especially through international media and in their meetings with the international community, there was a shadow of hope that I had. But unfortunately, the 1 year of Taliban in Afghanistan, the way they have dismantled, for example, Ministry of Women's Affairs, the way they have consistently, they have introduced different policies and decrees on women's rights, on how women should, live in Afghanistan. And also the fact that they have failed to address the issue of girls' education, which is a very straightforward thing, unfortunately does not give me any hope anymore.
You know, they made these promises to the international community, and the international community seemed to sort of accept it. Do you think it is incumbent upon the international community to actually force the Taliban to respect the promises that the Taliban themselves made?
100%. International community plays a massive role in where Afghanistan is today. They accept it or they don't accept it, but they are part of the problem where this crisis happened in Afghanistan last year, and except blank promises and statements, the international community until now have not held the Taliban accountable. And I think after giving them a year to actually prove themselves that they do respect human rights in general, but particularly women's rights, this is time for international community to take action. This is time for international community to use their leverage to hold the Taliban accountable.
Just one final question, Ms. Hamidi. If you're a woman or a girl in Afghanistan today, what is the message that goes out to them? What should they be doing?
I think they are brave, and the fact that they are showing the world and they are showing the Taliban that Afghan women have changed, that Afghan women are not the same woman of 96 is something that they should continue, because that's where the Taliban should know and the world should know that Afghan women will not give up and will not be silent.
Samira Hamidi, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.